Welcome back. As we continue to look at chapter 7, we're going to be starting at verse 24. Yesterday, we talked about John sending his disciples to see if Jesus is the one, and Jesus replied with his works to show that he was the one. Let's continue now with verse 24. This immediately follows what happened chronologically as well. When John's messengers had gone, Jesus began to speak to the crowds concerning John. What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? What then did you go out to see? A man dressed in soft clothing? Behold, those who are dressed in splendid clothing and live in luxury are in king's courts. What then did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you. I tell you, among those born of woman none is greater than John, yet the one who is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he. When all the people heard this, and the tax collectors too, they declared God just, having been baptized with the baptism of John. But the Pharisees and the lawyers rejected the purposes of God for themselves, not having been baptized by him. So he's speaking of John here, and he says, what did you go out to see? Did you just go out to enjoy the nature and to watch a reed in the wind, right? Just to see those things happen? Or did you go out to see someone rich, dressed in extravagant clothing? No, you didn't go out for either of those. You went out to see a prophet. But he was more than a prophet. He's the one, Jesus saying, that was preparing the way for me. He is the one. And I am the one. And then he says, John is great, but in all the kingdom, everyone in the kingdom is greater than he is. And then there's the two sides that kind of were falling in between here. Those who had listened to John the Baptist, who were baptized, the crowd, and the tax collectors as well, right? Notice that falls in there. They were glad because they were baptized with the baptism of John. The Pharisees, on the other side, rejected John, rejected his teaching, rejected his baptism, rejected really the purpose of God, as it says, rejected the will of God. So you see those who were accepting the will of God found in John, and those who rejected it. The Pharisees, the lawyers, those who should know better. Let's continue with verses 31 through 35. To what then shall I compare the people of this generation? What are they like? They are like children sitting in the marketplace and calling to one another. We played the flute for you and you did not dance. We sang a dirge and you did not weep. For John has come eating no bread and drinking no wine, and you say he has a demon. The Son of Man comes eating and drinking, and you say, look at him, a glutton and drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Yet just wisdom is justified by all her children. Really, Jesus is showing the fickle nature of mankind, isn't he? The fickle nature, especially of the religious leaders. They harassed John because he wasn't what they were expecting, because he was teaching something that they didn't think was right. They rejected him because he wasn't eating or drinking, doing things normal. They said he had a demon. Then Jesus comes and they call him because he is eating and drinking with the tax collectors and sinners. They accuse him of being a glutton and a drunkard. They are really showing their rejection of the will of God, the purpose of God, as we saw in the passages ahead. Turning their back on God's desires, especially God's desires found in Jesus, and moving them towards what they desire instead, what they think is best instead of what God has revealed and shown to be best. Hope to see you in church on this weekend. And otherwise, could wrap up chapter 7 on Monday. We'll see you then. God bless.